Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 33 of Big Brother Season 24's overnight feed recaps, and welcome to Cliff Notes. All right, we're waiting for the veto ceremony that's going to take place today. Last night, we had some conversations, a lot of repetition. One side trying to make pitches, the other side kind of laughing about some of the pitches and trying to figure out what's going to happen at the veto today. There's a lot of downtime yesterday and last night. But we will cover the pertinent conversations that took place. First of all, as a bit of a refresher, remember that Michael is the HOH. He already made the nominations that Monty, Terrence, and Joseph are on the block. Michael also won veto, so he has control over what happens today at the veto ceremony. The leftovers are planning to remove that trio of guys from the block, put up Daniel and Kyle, send Daniel out the door in a back door. But the other side, the non-leftovers, have been really pushing to go ahead and get the nominations not used and to send Monty out the door. They've been pushing throughout the day, throughout the evening. They've been pushing everyone on the leftover side, trying to make this thing happen. The other side really is, they think they've got it. And so they're a little more confident than they needed to be yesterday. So we're going to talk about all of it. It's going to be a fun veto ceremony today. I fully expect that the veto will be used. Daniel and Kyle will go on the block, and the other side's going to have a little bit of a meltdown when they realize that their plans did not work. So let's talk about the feeds themselves. First of all, let's start off with Joseph and Michael and Brittany. I think this was up in the HOH room. Joseph is talking about just giving Brittany and Michael a little background, some of the exposure that he's had. Yeah, remember, Joseph's pretty tight with the girls, and so he's heard a few things. They have thought that he's kind of playing dumb, or is dumb, that he's a bit of a free agent. So he's been privy to some information. So he's telling Brittany and Michael that the plan had been to vote out Brittany first and then Michael, the plan from the other side a few weeks ago. Brittany is talking about that she is still upset that this girls alliance that existed once upon a time. God, it seems like forever, doesn't it? But she's still upset that the girls alliance had left her and Taylor out when they first started up. But she's saying, yeah, I'm kind of glad the way it worked out. Yeah, I'm okay now. Yeah, I bet you are. She certainly has ended up on the right side. She and Taylor both, but she still remembers that. And yeah, she's going to continue to remember that. Brittany also mentions to Joseph, says, hey, just so you know, Taylor has mentioned to me that she kind of likes you. We keep hearing the tease about a potential showmance between Taylor and Joseph. Will it happen? I don't know. It's a little bit of a fake showmance just to forward both of their games. I think that's possible, but we'll see. Surprise me. All right, we've got Alyssa and Kyle chatting in the car bedroom a little bit before another makeout session. Yeah, they're enjoying their time in the house with each other. At one point, Kyle says, yeah, I haven't kissed her on the mouth yet. Well, I've seen differently, unless come on, Kyle. But they do have a little session of enjoying each other's company. We've got a big group that's all working out in the backyard. It's not a lot of fun watching people work out, I'll just say that. But apparently Big Brother had given them a GoPro and either asked them to work out or asked them to film with the GoPro the next time they work out for an episode. It's a little bit of a requested type activity. So we've got most of the house guests in the back are working out. Now, Terrence has stepped out. He says he's having some chest pains. He's going to go to the DR. That always makes me a little bit nervous, but he says, no, I think it's just from OTEV yesterday and some muscle pains and all. I should be good. Well, he comes back later and says, yeah, no, I'm fine. So good. I'm happy that Terrence doesn't have anything going on, but Terrence is sitting out. Brittany and Jasmine are also sitting out because of their injuries. Daniel says he's already worked out, so he's sitting out as well. If I'm Daniel, I don't care how many times you've already worked out. You got to be pressing the flesh with the crowd right now and doing everything possible to make sure that you seem like the most easygoing social guy in the world. But he's not doing that. He's indoor while everyone else is outside. Now, Daniel does at one point kind of look around the house and says, oh, it's so cool being in this house alone. It is. When you've got so many people in a house, you're squeezed in, there's no privacy whatsoever. When you have that opportunity when it's just you and you just get to embrace everything that is Big Brother and that house by yourself, it is a cool feeling. So I certainly can relate to that. All right, we've got Daniel and Terrence talking. Terrence has done a lot of talking. Terrence really, just this week, it seems like he is really taking the lead. Probably he and Jasmine have really taken the lead on this whole idea of getting Monty out the door. Not sure it's the best thing that you need to be taking the lead on, but Terrence is talking to Daniel. Terrence is making a lot of suggestions to Daniel on how to pitch to Michael and Brittany. I mean, you got to pitch to both of them. But he's saying, look, go up there with Kyle, since y'all are besties together, and tell Michael how many people that the whole house seems to be wanting Monty out, including Joseph. They've thrown that out. Daniel also is saying that Turner says he's on board also. According to Kyle, has said Turner's on board to Daniel. And then Indy's on board as well. They're counting their votes, a lot of votes that don't actually exist, but they think they've got them on their side to send Monty out the door. Daniel mentions the fact that because there's going to be 3 guys on the block, that means they only need 4 votes to force a tie. So he said, look, 4 votes is all we need. And then at that point, Michael will break the tie. Hopefully Michael sends Monty out the door and we're set. So he says, we only need 4 votes. We've got 6 of them right now. We're golden. Well, maybe not quite as golden as you think, Daniel. Terrence responds. They're both laughing. Terrence says, I can't wait till tomorrow morning, this morning. He said, I can't wait till this thing happens. It's going to be fantastic. Well, there's certainly going to be some surprise people this morning, but maybe not the ones that you're thinking of, Terrence. All right, we've got Turner later playing along with Terrence. Terrence is talking to Turner, and Turner, in the way he just always plays, Terrence is throwing all this out and saying, man, you're a beast. Everyone thinks that they're scared of you because you took out the head of the snake last week. And Turner, we're doing this plan. We got plenty of votes, and I hope you're on board. And Turner's like, oh, man, that's on fire, man. Yeah, it sounds like a great move. If everyone's on board, I'm on board. Sure. Telling Terrence what he wants to hear. All right, at one point, a little bit later in the evening, the house guests have alcohol. No birthdays, no special celebrations. That's just a sign that Big Brother is looking at these house guests and saying, Dan, Sunday night's going to be a really boring night if we don't do something to shake it up a little bit. So they've got some White Claws, a couple of 3 or 4 beers, a couple of bottles of wine that they found in the storage room. Kyle and Joseph and Turner found it later. Monty comes in. So the whole pound is in there looking at this. They contemplate drinking it all themselves and not telling the rest of the house. I mean, I really thought they were going to do it for a second. They eventually backed off and said, nah, we'll tell everyone else. And I think maybe Daniel came in. So I'm not sure they really chose that. It just people found out before they could consume it all. But eventually they took the alcohol. They combined it. Indy put together his huge charcuterie board. That's how you pronounce it, right? Cheese and sausages and all. Looked pretty good. Looked really good. So they had wine and cheese and sausages and things like that later on in the evening, and just hanging out a little bit. Now, while the pound is in the storage room, they did have a few laughs amongst themselves. They're laughing that they caught Terrence saying the word old school over and over. They were taking some pictures with this GoPro, and Terrence kept saying, let's do some old school pictures. Wink, wink, wink. Yeah, the name of Terrence's alliance. But I think it's Joseph who says, yeah, I was responding saying, are there any leftovers still in the house? And so they're both kind of laughing and throwing out some coded words and thinking the other side's not noticing. All right, we've got Turner and Michael in the HOH room. Turner is recounting his conversation with Terrence, everything that Terrence said. Goes right back to Michael. So Michael's aware of all of this. Michael is amazed at how confident the other side is, which I am as well. It's not them saying, can we do this? Come on, guys, let's do this. It's we've got the votes. We're good. We need you on board, but we're absolutely good to go. Now, maybe the thinking from the other side, if they promote enough confidence that it's a done deal, they've seen everyone piling on in terms of the votes to vote with the House. So maybe they're thinking that's why they're pushing it. Maybe they really are that confident. They're not going to be that confident today. But Michael's a little amazed at that. Michael's debating if he can get a little snarky at his veto ceremony speech today and maybe throw in some old school references. Say, I'm going to go old school and change out the votes or something, the nominees. So he may do a little some little tease this evening or this morning. All right, we've got Indy holding up at one point to the camera, holding up a pretty big chunk of hair, talking about that it's fallen out of her scalp. Because of just the drama, the stress of being in this house. And she's saying, I signed up to be on a reality show and y'all tricked me. Y'all put me into a telenovela instead. Well, Indy, welcome to Big Brother. All right, we've got Monty and Michael in the HOH room. Really nothing new. Michael's just rehashing to Monty everything that's been said about trying to get him out the door, reassuring him that, it's not going to happen. I'm changing the nominations tomorrow. So he's mentioning that. Now, he does tell Monty that Jasmine is kind of leading the way also, that Jasmine told Brittany that the whole house wants Monty out. There's going to be repercussions of this. This isn't just a 1 week situation where someone goes home that the other side didn't want. There's going to be a lot of fractured relationships and everything else as a result of this. Monty knows what's going on, and Terrence has kind of stuck his neck out. It's going to make for an interesting next week or two. All right, we've got Turner and Kyle, completely non-game talk, but Turner and Kyle are explaining cryptocurrency to Michael and Brittany, and pretty interesting little conversation. They're into it. I'm not so much into it, and it was interesting to hear them talking about it. All right, we've got Terrence and Jasmine talking. They are both nervous. Now, remember how I said they're so confident that they've got the votes, everything's going to work? Well, maybe not really when it's them talking. Terrence and Jasmine, as I said, I really think these are kind of the two ringleaders for this week, for this movement to get Monty out the door. They're both nervous, and they're saying they just don't know that Michael's actually going to make the move to get out Monty. They're saying it's because he's scared to do it and it wouldn't want to make a big move and all that. Well, it just strategically, Michael doesn't really see the merit to it, but they're worried he's not going to do it. And Terrence is recognizing that if Monty and Joseph find out that he's been behind this plan, that it doesn't work out, that Monty's still in the house, Joseph is going to be in the house as well, that Terrence is going to be the top target in his group. And I think he meant that group of three. Yeah, if it comes down to it, the leftovers are definitely booting Terrence before either Monty or Taylor. And after this week, they'll have the votes that's going to make it that much easier. So they're talking about that. Jasmine and Terrence are both talking about how tired they are having to tell everyone else how to play the game of Big Brother. It's just completely exhausting to continually have to be playing other people's games because they aren't willing to play the games themselves. Yeah, people are playing the game more so than you think, my friends. All right, we've got Kyle and Daniel finally going upstairs to have their little bestie duo talk with Michael and Brittany in the HOH. Kyle is saying that almost everyone in the house wants the nominations to stay the same. And Daniel's saying, look, here's the thing. If you keep them the same, if you keep Kyle and I off the block, I promise you, you and Brittany both, complete safety as long as the bestie twist lasts. That's a really weak offer. Your neck's on the line. You got to be saying, I'm offering you safety until final three, final four. I'm make whatever promises you have to make. Promise just till safety or till the besties goes away is not a whole lot of offer. And in fact, Brittany kind of calls them out, says, well, what if besties ends next week? What then? So eventually Daniel says, all right, 2 weeks. I'll give you 2 weeks of safety. You can't do that. It still sounds like there's too much targeting happening when you're just promising 2 weeks. You got to be saying, I have no desire to go after you. I don't think I'll ever go after you the whole rest of the game. But anyway, he makes a pitch. Once they leave, Kyle and Daniel, Brittany and Michael start laughing. They're not impressed. They don't see that was a very strong argument for Daniel to be making. And I agree. All right, we've got Terrence and Daniel. Well, first of all, we've got Daniel talking to the cameras from the hammock. And he mentions apparently Big Brother left a message, which we don't ever hear in the feeds. I don't think I've never heard it, but I heard it in my house as well. And so I just want to focus on this for just a second. Big Brother came out and said, house guest, these are the good old days. Enjoy them. And that's it. And I think just because they had the charcuterie board, the alcohol, all that, we heard it once or twice while we were in the house. And it really does, just for a second, it strikes home, or it hits home that you're in a very special place, playing a very special game. And you can get so caught up on the stresses and the backstabbing and planning and all that you forget just to take a moment and enjoy what a huge opportunity that so few people get to be in that house. So I really enjoyed it when Big Brother said it, and apparently Daniel heard it as well. I'm glad they got a chance just to reflect on what a cool experience it is. All right, we got Terrence and Daniel in the hammock. More of the same conversation about how well everything is going, that They got everyone on board. Joseph's on board. Terrence is on board. There's no one that wants to keep Monty in this house. Yeah, they're fooling each other, I think. All right, we've got Terrence and Taylor talking a little bit. This was a very awkward conversation. Taylor did not want to be sitting there talking to Terrence. You could just tell that she was ready for this conversation to be over. Terrence is saying at one point, look, I just don't know that we're always together from a gameplay standpoint. And I just don't feel like we're really jiving necessarily, Taylor. And she's like, well, we have little different objectives. Terrence is saying that everybody is ready to send Monty home. And Taylor said, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And she's kind of playing dumb. But she says, look, my only issue with that is that Daniel's the only one who was willing to vote me out last week. Everyone else flipped over. Daniel still voted to send me out the door. So she said, you can see why maybe I'm still okay with Daniel going home, right? But she does tell him, says, look, I'll talk to Michael if everyone else is on board. I won't be at the house. I don't want to be at odds. So she doesn't tell Terrence no, but again, it's just kind of an awkward conversation. She was ready to be done with it. All right, we've got everyone in the backyard around the pool table. What are they talking? They're talking about dating, I think, and several conversations. Dating, can you be friends with someone for the opposite sex? Without desiring them and things like that. So just a lot of very casual non-game conversations. We did have Alyssa and Brittany off to the side, I think, in a little patio area, talking a lot about how much they love Big Brother, just the game, the live feeds, just what a passion it is. And I agree. Alyssa, though, is also saying that she and Kyle and Brittany and Michael should be working together because they all deserve to be here. And why wouldn't they work together as a group? And Brittany's like, sure, that'd be fantastic. Alyssa also mentions the fact that she really wants to see two girls in final two. She tells Brittany, says, look, if it was choosing between you and Kyle, I'm picking you every time because I want to see two girls in there. I want to see a girl win the whole thing. All right, we've got Alyssa and Taylor talking about showmance names. Now, obviously, Alyssa and Kyle are showmance, or at least they're planning to declare it next week. So they're talking about names. Taylor suggesting Kalissa, I think. So Kyle, Alyssa, Kalissa. Sounds like something from Game of Thrones. But Taylor's mentioning that. Alyssa comes back and says, hey, for you and Joseph. Again, a little talk about Taylor and Joseph. She says, for y'all, maybe Tejo or Tojay, something like that. So not serious necessarily, but the fact it's even being mentioned makes you wonder a little bit, right? Taylor does mention something interesting, though. She says, yeah, maybe, but Big Brother, I think she said production, but she said Big Brother, I think they want me to be with Monty. That's where they're pushing me. So I don't know if that means that there have been questions asked in the diary room about showmances that Taylor's been answering. Not sure where she gets that impression. Maybe it's just her general thinking. I don't know, but keep that in mind as well. All right, we've got Alyssa. Now, they were kind of at odds at the very beginning. Could you get a showmance between Taylor and Monty somewhere down the road? Maybe, but I maybe see it a little more with Taylor and Joseph. All right, we've got Alyssa telling Taylor that if nominations stay the same, that Joseph and Terrence are going to be fine. Remember, Alyssa's guy, Kyle, does not want to be on the block. So Alyssa as well would like to keep the nominations the same. But that means that then Taylor, whose friend, Joseph, would stay on the block. Would be at risk. So Alyssa's saying, yeah, Joseph's going to be fine if this happens. It's Monty that's going home. Don't worry about anything, Taylor. All right. Remember Muffingate? Well, now we got Cidergate. There's always something in this house. Indy is upset because of some missing cider. And I never could, the feeds cut in and out. I never could even figure out if it's her missing cider or someone else's missing cider or how it works. But Indy is upset that there's some cider that disappeared. And apparently Jasmine and Alyssa feel like Indy was accusing them somehow. And so Jasmine's saying, that's disrespectful. And so we had a little bit of a conflict out in the backyard about this missing cider. And instead of just being an issue and then going away 5 minutes later, it festers up a little bit. We'll hear a little bit more about it in just a second. This is the silliest things can cause problems in this house. All right, we've got a big group in the backyard. Again, talking, this is where we're talking about dating and friendship and everything. They spent some time in the backyard. All right, we got Jasmine and Terrence and Alyssa in the bathroom. Remember how I said this stuff just festers? Jasmine's still upset about it. She's still going on saying, why would Indy accuse me of doing anything to that cider? I don't even drink. It's just disrespectful. Alyssa saying, I was not even down here. Why is she accusing me? It's silly. And so I think Jasmine's saying, well, I didn't say too much. I'm proud that I didn't say too much, but she'll talk about it for the next 48 hours, I'm sure. All right, so Cidergate 2.0, I guess. All right, Taylor and Joseph are talking in the hammock, the potential showmance. She's talking about, or Joseph's talking about that Alyssa was all excited that Joseph was laying, I guess, in the bed, that Taylor had everyone else, the other 5 or 6 people from this other alliance in the room. And she said 6 on 6, this is going to be fantastic. And Joseph said everyone else was looking at her like, be quiet. Joseph's in here, but Alyssa likes to talk a little bit. And so she has made it clear that she is envisioning a 6 versus 6 type alliance going forward, or house situation, which is one of the big reasons that Michael is not sending out Monty this week. He wants to keep the numbers strong on the leftover side. But Alyssa doesn't realize that. So she's talking about that. Joseph is complaining about Terrence. He's saying, look, Terrence can be so nice, feel like he's the nicest guy in the world. He's working with you, but I know he's not, just like he wasn't working with you last week. And so Taylor and Joseph are both a little perturbed at Terrence, probably ready to send Terrence out the door. He's going to be an easy target in the very near future. Joseph is also talking about Indy and Jasmine, saying that they keep wanting to start an alliance with them, and that he's just ready to send them home. He doesn't want to have anything to do with that, but they just keep bringing it up. Now, talking about showmance, there was a little bit of discussion. They kind of joked around about the fact people are saying they like each other and all that. And the way it was being said, I almost feel like both of them are just kind of playing along with the game and pretending that there may be a little more there than there actually is, just because they think it's going to help their game. And maybe I'm wrong, but the way they were talking, it just sounds like they're just going to kind of go with the flow, so to speak, and have fun with it. And I'm okay with that. All right. Finally, we've got Alyssa and Kyle cuddling in the bumper pool lounge. Eventually, they move over to the have-not room. While they're in the have-not room, Michael and Brittany walk in on them. They're not doing anything horrific, but they still walk in on them. And I think Brittany says, yeah, Mom and Dad, come and see how y'all are doing. Leave the door open from this point on. So that was kind of funny watching. Finally, to end up the evening, we've got Michael and Brittany. Michael is saying, at one point he said he maybe was going to tell people last night that he was going to use a veto and just see how people responded and scrambled. We didn't do that. Now he's saying that he's probably going to talk to people this morning, tell them he's not using it, see how people respond to that, see who maybe spreads the word and who doesn't, and all that. So he's going to be watching, but he's going to tell people that. He says he's also probably going to tell people that, hey, I'm on board getting Monty out. It's not that I just can't do it this week, but I'm all on board to help y'all next week. I'll have a vote and y'all go for it. So he's going to try not to reveal the leftovers completely and try to at least let the other side think that he's on board with it. He's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Michael wants Monty out sooner rather than later, perhaps as well, but not until he knows that the leftovers have a few more votes majority before he does something like that. So we got that. And then finally, Brittany brings up the conversation with Alyssa and says, look, Alyssa talked to me. She wants her and Kyle and you and me to maybe be a final 4 together to take this to the very end. And Michael says, sure, why not? I'm on board with it. Now, I don't know if that's truly who they want as their other 2 partners in the final 4 alliance, but we have heard Brittany before saying it'd be nice to attach to another strong duo and go to the very end. Are Kyle and Alyssa the strong duo that she was thinking about? Not sure, but you don't say no to an alliance. So at least tentatively, we may have these 4 trying to work together a little bit going forward. We'll see. We'll see if it goes anywhere. And with that, house guests in bed. Oh, they stayed up all night long. House guests in bed, maybe 5:30 or so Big Brother time, which means 7:30 Houston time. It was a long evening. And with all that being said, yeah, there was a lot. The theme of the evening is one side thinks the veto is not going to be used. Monty's going out the door. The other side, who happens to have the veto holder, is planning to use a veto. Go ahead and backdoor Daniel and send him out the door this week. I think that's what's going to happen. Once it does, we'll see how that first side scrambles. Jasmine and Terrence in particular have put a whole lot of investment, a whole lot of work and time into trying to make this happen. When it doesn't happen, I think they're going to realize that their positions this game have suddenly become very precarious. They may have made jury, but they may be the first ones in the jury house as well. So we'll find out. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Monday. I will check back with y'all tomorrow morning. We'll talk all about what happened with the veto ceremony and the repercussions of that. Until then, cheers, my friends. SKD 143. Bye.